everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video I'm going to be reading the longest and the shortest book on my Physical TBR. Before I get into the video and tell you what books I'm going to be reading, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, thriller and romance books. So let's get into the video. Okay, so the two books that I'm going to be reading for this vlog are very different vibes to each other, obviously longest and shortest. So the longest book on my TBR, I feel like is not really a surprise to anyone, is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. This is the prequel novel to The Priory of the Orange Tree. I read Priory of the Orange Tree maybe back in, oh god, probably about 5 years ago now, in 2020. I loved it, I gave it 5 stars. Obviously the prequel's come out. It is a chonker like Priory of the Orange Tree and I just haven't got around to it yet, mainly because the size kind of intimidates me a bit, and you know, these sort of size fantasy books are a dedication. So this is 846 pages long. This is going to take me a bit of a while to get through, but I thought pair it with the shortest book and we'll have a bit of fun with it. So the shortest book on my TBR is actually a book in the series that I haven't read. So this is actually the third shortest book on my TBR. So like book 2 was the shortest book, book 3 was the second shortest book, and book 1 is the shortest. It's the third shortest, sorry. And that's going to be Chase Me by Tessa Bailey. This is a romance book by Tessa Bailey. She's, you know, an auto-buy romance author for me. She's always a fun time. This one's only 251 pages, so very different vibe to the first one. So what I'm going to do is start with A Day of Fallen Night, maybe dip in and out of it with Chase Me, and I'll check back in with you guys when I've got a reading update for you. So I have started reading the longest book on my TBR, which is A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I'm currently 185 pages in. I've just gotten to the end of sort of basically part 1. Don't recommend if you don't like really slow-paced political fantasy. It's a lot of politicking at the moment. So in the prologue we're kind of introduced to the 3 different kingdoms and different perspectives of this story. The first one is, at the time, a young girl who has a bit of a dalliance with the emperor of this kingdom, and she ends up pregnant, ends up fleeing in the night. There's a whole backstory to how she's ended up in the palace. Her father was advisor to the emperor. He was then banished. She wants to find out more about her father, kind of falls in love on the way, and then ends up having to basically banish herself. She ends up with, like I said, she ends up with a child, banishes herself. The second perspective is of, again, another young woman at the time whose mother is a queen in a queendom, and they believe that they must produce an heir, produce a queen, each one, to keep the dragons at bay. And they believe that having their blood in this kingdom is what holds the dragons at bay. They believe that the dragons are bad, and the previous kingdom with the young girl pregnant believes that the dragons are good, but we kind of find out more about that later on in the story. The second perspective is a young girl whose mother is trying to make ties with this kingdom who's taking over other kingdoms. She doesn't want them to take over her kingdom, but she also wants to keep them happy. So the young girl offers herself as a wife to this young man who they're of a similar age, and then they end up getting married, and then we follow their daughter in later on in the book. The third perspective is of the Priory of the Orange Tree. They believe that the worship that they do and the measures that they take is what keeps the dragons at bay. We have 2 perspectives who believe the dragons are bad, 1 perspective that believes the dragons are good. That is the prologue. So like I said, this then links to the actual main story of this book. So like I said, the woman who banished herself, she ends up high up on a mountain, basically in like a temple sort of place. There she gives birth to her daughter, who is the heir to this kingdom, hides her away, and eventually it's found out. The emperor comes to visit. He finds out about his daughter and he wants to bring his daughter back to his kingdom. So he is married to a member of a clan that doesn't have the best interest of the kingdom at heart. They had heirs. So they had 2 boys and a girl. The 2 boys died, leaving the only girl, and she is very heavily influenced by her mother, and he believes that she will not be a good ruler because, again, their family doesn't have the best interest of the kingdom at heart. So he wants to bring his unknown daughter back to the kingdom to basically take the throne in the future. So that's where we've got to with that perspective. They have just visited a lake. He's called upon a dragon to advise him if this is a good decision, and the dragon has basically said, yeah, she's a good decision. We follow the daughter of the couple in the prologue for the second perspective, and she is basically finding out that her duty in life is to get married and provide an heir to keep the blood flowing and keep the dragons at bay. She doesn't want to get married, she doesn't want to bear a child, but her dad has kind of persuaded her, this is basically, you know, we all do things we don't want to do in life, and this is your duty kind of thing. So that's where we've gotten to with that. The man that she's supposed to marry, again, is supposed to keep another clan happy. Priory. So that's that. And then the third perspective of the Priory, so we're following a couple of women and they birth the children, but they don't really raise them. They're like not really the mothers. They sort of, it takes a village, they say, and that's how they raise the children. So the mother of the child doesn't really have much to do with her, but her lover does. And the child is about 15, I think, at the time. She gets herself in a bit of trouble. She climbs the orange tree, disrespects it. She's sort of then confined for a while, and it turns out that she has met an outsider and basically nearly exposed the Priory, and she is with child. She runs away. Whilst these two ladies are out finding her, something happens and 5 dark shapes emerge, which we believe to be dragons. I'm not sure, but obviously they think dragons are bad. It's not been confirmed if they are dragons. Potentially dragons are back. 2 of these perspectives believe dragons are bad. 1 of them believes they're good. Let's see what happens. So that is a very short summary of the plot. I know the names, but I'm just going to get myself confused. I have to say I am enjoying this one so far. It's, like I said, it's very slow, very political. We are finally starting to get into sort of think the dragons are emerging. We're starting to get into the main plot of this book. I'm interested to see how the 3 perspectives tie in together, because at the moment they're very far apart. They're very unconnected. I guess maybe the Priory and the second perspective, who both think the dragons are bad, maybe they'll tie in together. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. I do have faith in Samantha Shannon. Like I said, I really loved The Priory of the Orange Tree back when I originally read it, and that all tied together really well. I'm interested to see about the bloodlines of the queendom. Obviously we know that it does carry on because of Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm interested to see how that happens, because the daughter Glorian, like I said, she's betrothed to a boy that she's not really interested in, doesn't really have much respect for her or like even his own kingdom. She seems to sort of have a little bit of a crush on someone else, and that someone else is very well respected by his father. There's only like a couple of years between them, and she's, like I said, she's only 15 at the moment. I'm interested to see what's going to happen there. I think if I remember rightly, like the Priory of the Orange Tree spanned like quite a bit of time, so in this next sort of part she might be a little bit older. I'm interested to see where that's gonna go. I love a bit of forbidden romance, me. But yeah, loving this one so far. The world is really interesting. You know, I love a good dragon fantasy. Even if the dragons aren't really around too much at the moment, it's very exciting knowing that they're going to be around. And yeah, I'm just interested to see what happens here, because I can't really remember too much of what happened in Priory of the Orange Tree, so I'm not really predicting anything of what happens. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. We're just along for the ride at the moment. But yeah, really enjoying this one so far. But yeah, it is slow. Yeah, I don't mind a slow fantasy, so yeah, I'm enjoying this one so far. I'm gonna carry on reading this one for a bit and probably check back in with you maybe when I'm about halfway or just over halfway, and let you know sort of thoughts then. Okay, so I'm just checking back in. I am just under 400 pages through this book, so I'm probably just under halfway through A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I have to say this one is getting a bit sluggish. It is reading like a bit of a textbook. Something happens and then we get this whole sort of like exposition on just sort of some history, and it's just like, I don't really think we need every single detail of everything in this world. Like, it is interesting, but I'm finding that like I'm not really interested in reading it. Like, I don't want to pick it up. Like, I'm enjoying it when I'm reading it, but it's very slow, and I'm sort of like, you know, looking over at the time thinking like, oh, should I just go and do something else? So I'm gonna try and read like another sort of maybe 100-200 pages today. I'm not gonna finish this one, it's just too much, and then maybe pick something. Maybe I'll pick up the Tessa Bailey book as a bit of a change of pace. I have to say, like, the end of part 1 where I said to you, like, we think the dragons are back, obviously we know one of the dragons are back because one of the perspectives is following a dragon or something to do with a dragon, but nothing's really come of that, and I was kind of like, oh, here we go, we're gonna get going, and then we've kind of like slammed the brakes on again, and it's just kind of like, are we gonna get going? So one of the perspectives, something quite sort of interesting has happened, something quite important has happened. So I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil anything. I kind of feel like it's setting up to a lot of nothing again, and I don't remember if Priory of the Orange Tree was like this, but I felt like there was more of a plot, and I don't know if maybe I just enjoyed it at the time and I just need something a bit more fast paced right now. But yeah, this is just like, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. It's very like at the moment like a 3.5. Like, it's good, but it's not really adding anything to my life right now. But yeah, so I'm going to try and read maybe another 100-200 pages. We'll see how far we can get, and then switch over to the Tessa Bailey book just to pick up the pace a bit. But yeah, this is good. It's just very textbooky. If you're not into slow paced political fantasy, don't read this. But not really sure on this one yet. It's just a bit sort of like, you think we're going and then we're not, and then I don't know, like a lot's happening, but also then nothing's leading to anything. A lot's happening that doesn't amount to anything, and it's just kind of a lot of loose ends, really. But yeah, I am liking it, just not loving it. I'm now just over 650 pages through A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, and I'm pleased to say we are finally picking up the pace. Plot is coming together, these different perspectives I think they're starting to weave together now, and yeah, just stuff's happening, and we're really getting into the main plot of this book. I mean, it's only taken us 650 pages, but we are getting there. So I'm definitely a lot more interested in it now. I do think that it just kind of, in the middle, there was just a bit of a slump in the writing, just not a lot was really happening. It was very political, whereas now we're still doing a lot of politicking, but there's a lot more actually happening. We've got things happening with the dragons and worms, and all our characters are starting to hopefully cross paths, and we're going to get to the main crux of the story. But yeah, I do think a lot of this could have been taken out. I understand why she's kept it in. There's a lot of history to this world. But like every time we get a character introduced, we get their whole family background and their lineage, and it's just really not necessary. It's only really necessary for like the queens of this one of the kingdoms. They believe that, you know, this queendom keeps the nameless one at bay, and that's kind of interesting, like their lineage, because that's important to the plot. Whereas like, you know, just random sort of side characters, we don't really, you know, random earls and barons and stuff, we don't need the entire backstory of their whole family history. Like, it's just really not relevant. And yeah, this is finally picking up the pace a bit, finally getting a bit more interested in it. I'm actually wanting to read it, but I am going to take a bit of a break from it because I have read quite a bit of a chunk of this today, and it is very textbooky. So yeah, I'm gonna switch over and read a bit of Chase Me by Tessa Bailey, but I think I will update you on that a bit later on. I don't want to like go back and forth between the two books, but yeah, I am enjoying this one a lot more now, and glad it's finally picked up. Okay, so I have a bit of a reading update for you. First of all, I have finished A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. I'm really torn on what to rate this one. Parts of this was like a 4-star read, and parts of it was like a 2 or a 3-star. I do think it didn't really need to be this long. It took sort of like 650 pages for our characters to cross paths, for the action to really get going. I understand this is more of a political fantasy than it is an action-based fantasy, but it was just kind of like there was a lot of politicking, and then when we finally got to the action, not anticlimactic, but it was sort of over too quickly, and I was just kind of like, oh, is that it really? Like, yeah, there could have been a lot of this book cut out. It wasn't really necessary to be this long, and I see what people mean now by when they say this feels a bit textbooky. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I did enjoy this, but there were parts that I really did not like, so I think maybe a 3.5 or a 3-star would be where I sit with this book. Like, I'm glad I read it, but yeah, it was just so unnecessary long. I don't think it needed to be this long. I felt like Priory had more plot than this one, but then I might be misremembering Priory. I read it so long ago. So yeah, if you've read Priory and enjoyed it and you want to read this, I'd recommend it, but it is a bit of a slog in part. Not Samantha Shannon's best work in my opinion, but there we go. And then I have also started and finished Chase Me by Tessa Bailey, which is the shortest book on my Physical TBR. So in this one we follow our main characters, Roxy and Louis. Louis is a sort of high-flying lawyer. He comes from a very rich family, and Roxy is really struggling. She's been kicked out of her house with her roommate, or a flat with her roommate. She's got nowhere to live. She signs up to a company that performs like singing telegrams, and she ends up knocking on Lewis's door. A one-night stand that he had a couple of days before, wrote this song about his penis, and then she's got to sing it, and she's dressed as a bunny. Her money situation gets even more dire that she resorts to stripping. Louis is like infatuated by her from the minute he meets her, and she's like doesn't want a relationship, thinks that he's, you know, all money kind of thing. So yeah, she's really not interested in him, and then someone accidentally hires her to strip at his future brother-in-law's stag party. She doesn't go through with it, and then they kind of go from there. They sort of like hook up. I have to say, I'm really not sure on this one either. It was like, I enjoyed it, but I also didn't. Like, I don't think Roxy and Louis were really interesting characters on their own. Like, Roxy has a lot of things going on. Like, she's really distrustful of people. She's had a lot of, like, her family don't support her with her acting career, so she wants to get into acting, and her family don't support this, and like she's really struggling. She doesn't really let anyone in. And then Louis is like, he seems like a really nice guy. He does a lot of like pro bono work, so like she thinks he's this high-flying lawyer who doesn't care about anyone, but he actually really does. I don't really think they work well together. I think this is a kind of couple that, you know, they're gonna stay together for the next 2 books, aren't they? And then I know they're not real, but this is the kind of couple that don't actually have a future together. I can't picture them staying together, because anytime he says anything or he does anything, she's so flighty. So like at one point they spend the night together, and bear in mind they've literally known each other for like 4 days at this point. They're like, you know, I love you. He's like, oh, I'll call you in the morning, and then like on the way to the elevator she just blocks his number, and I'm just like, what? Like, why don't you try? I don't know, he's given her no reason not to trust him, and yet I don't know, it was just really annoying, and it was just like the same argument over and over and over again. It was just like a bit boring to read, but then like I don't know, it was good and also not, so maybe like a 2.5 or a 3 for this one. I just can't see them being together. Like this relationship is not going to work. And yeah, I'm not sure of like the time scale of this book as well, but yeah, it felt like they were literally known each other for like 4 days or something. It was ridiculous. I do like the side characters that I think we're going to follow in the next books, and I do find sometimes with Tessa Bailey books I don't tend to like the first couple in her series and then I like the rest. So I mean, it was a quick easy read. I flew through it because it was what, like 270 odd 250 odd pages. So yeah, it was fun. Average Tessa Bailey, or maybe like a bit less than average, but yeah, glad I finally read this one, got this one off the TBR as well. So yeah, those were the 2 books I read for this reading vlog. So we finally read the really long one and the really short one. So comment down below, let me know if you've read any of these books. I'd love to know what your opinion on them is. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.